Hello and welcome, Jennifer, to the Archetype Akasha. And you are here today because of you have the cross of the vessel of love. And we were discussing the 25, the innocence. And because the Archetype Akasha for me is also evolving, I included the incarnation crosses. And the 25 is in your earth. And so you have the 46, the 25, and then the 10 and the 15, if I say it correctly.
Yeah, 46, 25, 15, 10. Yeah.
Yes. And this creates the vessel of love. And the vessel of love, I know it quite well because my husband also has the vessel of love. So we discussed it very much. But I know you from our course, the BBD, Business by Design. So I know you're very in depth with all this knowledge and also a lot of lived wisdom because you have experienced love in so many ways because you've shared it already in the conversations that we had before. But when we're going to discuss the vessel of love and then the 25, how would you explain the vessel of love in short before we go into how the journey for you went to get on this cross? Because the incarnation cross is not something that we just are or gonna be. We are evolving in it, and then we have to express it and be the vessel of love, right? So.
Well, I love it. Actually, when I originally found out about this vessel of love that I have, the 46, 25, 15, 10, I was aware, of course, of the personality side of it, the 46 and the 25. And the 15 and the 10, were things unconscious that are located in my body. And I would say I was aware of them from a talent perspective, but I wasn't aware of them from I can use this, I can grow with this kind of perspective. But when we're talking about the 25, it's interesting. I kind of just want to read this little thing that you sent me, which makes so much sense to me. It says, "This is the spiritual warrior ready to take on challenges that come with initiation, to stretch beyond the limits of what is known and comfortable. With each step, the innocence and the beauty of your spirit is realized and enriched, and deep wisdom found that can empower others on their journey." And I would say that all my life have been a better lover than I have been loved. So, just every day of my life, I've been better at emitting love and being the frequency of love and, being sort of the playfulness and the innocence of a child who loves than I have been at receiving love. And, and then it's also about like, what is love and what isn't love? So it's like, okay, well, if the people thought they were loving me in a correct way for them, maybe they weren't completely evil. Maybe they thought that this information that they were imparting or they were giving to me or any sort of corrective measures were loving in their mind. And so, I really feel like this incarnation cross, especially, which has such a focus on the body and loving the body. And for me, it's been a real journey of the consciousness of the body, like moving away from the lower frequencies of like, blame, shame, regret, guilt, anger, rage, all of those lower frequencies, which just felt dense. It didn't feel true for me that we needed to live our lives that way. And I would say, the childhood that I grew up in was quite dense. It was like the people were making super unconscious choices that were making it so that they couldn't be happy. And, I think, for me, love is synonymous with choosing a life you are happy. And loving yourself is, choosing a life where you're happy.
Yeah. Where I want to go in. Wow. Yeah, you were talking about the lower frequencies, and To explain a little bit to the people that are going to watch this video, the shadows or the lower frequencies of the 25 is constriction, which can be ignorant or cold. And then you go into acceptance and universal love. And the 46 that you were talking about, the love of the body, is called goodwill. And it goes from seriousness, which can be frigid or frivolous, to delight and ecstasy. And I feel we were kind of going more into your conscious side, right? The 46 and the 25, and then the love of the body. When you hear these lower frequencies, how they gave it a name, do you recognize them in your life? And how can you give an example of how they played out in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. What a great question. So for people with the 25 as predominant in your chart, you may notice this more in your body than you notice it in your personality, because there's actual physical constriction of the body in the breath, and then in the personality, there's constriction of what I've been able to choose and what I haven't been able to choose, and what I've been aware of, like the ignorant part. Like ignorance isn't aggressive, it's just like completely stupid. Like you just have no idea what's available for you in this life. And I think there have been, so if we go into the personality part and we go into the consciousness of ignorance, that, there's been many times in my life where I just could not see the forest for the trees, as we say in Canada. It's just like, I have no freaking idea. And I'm also a 2-4, so which is called the natural. And so luckily for me, this frequency of 25, the innocence has really supported my journey. There's been times in my life, a lot of times in my life, where I think the 46 was like, I'm going to pull you out of this mess, Jennifer, because the 46 has also a gift of serendipity. And so it was like, I got off the bad bus and somehow magically the good bus would show up and I could get on it. And so I really do know for myself that when I am in my correct frequencies, timing is something that I have a huge gift with for myself and for the work that I do. But the constriction, I think it's really important if you have this in your incarnation cross, and then also predominant in your chart, the constriction can be physical. So I had asthma, I had allergies, you just think of like all the places in your body that can be constricted. And so I used to wear glasses. I had, terrible, like running nose, asthma, bronchitis, just sort of everything that you think of. And then, all the way down into my intestines, I had sort of restricted and constricted intestines. And so this consciousness journey, as I've grown closer to being sort of incarnated in my body in a way where I can relax into it, all of those systems in my body. I didn't cure my eyes, but I did actually was unconstricted enough to make the choice to go and get laser surgery, so I didn't have to wear glasses or contacts. And, and then also making some unconstricted choices to move towards conscious choices, which has really made a miraculous difference in my body. Huge. Moving me away from constriction and towards ease in my body, and towards that frequency of delight, which is really interesting, because about 3 years ago now, maybe even 2018, a while ago, I was enamored with the word delight, and I knew nothing about human design at that point, nothing. But I was talking to my clients and I was talking in my classes about that frequency of delight. Like, what if you were delighted by what the universe is bringing to you? What if you were delighted by how much fun you're having? Like, what if? And, so to bring in that frequency of delight, because it's so funny, I have been fired from jobs for not being serious enough. Like, literally, like, you're not serious enough. You laugh too much. You need to go. And so, that was very heartbreaking. I was like, oh my goodness. But now that I know that delight is, in ecstasy, like being ecstatic. Oh, I have tons of stories about that where, I was in so much trouble because I was just, it's so funny. I went to Cirque du Soleil. My sister got us these amazing tickets to Cirque du Soleil, and we grew up in a horse riding family. And so we went to Cavalia, which was the first horse Cirque du Soleil. And so she got us these like, center stage, 5 rows up, and, the level of talent, the equestrian talent, and then also the animal, the equine talent was orgasmic. It was ecstatic. I was ecstatic. And people kept looking at me like, God, calm down, lady. Don't you know we're watching a performance? And I'm like, I am not calming down. I want those horses to hear me. I want those equestrians to hear me. This is like better than the best rodeo I've ever been at, better than the best dressage class I've ever seen in my life. It was so good. And so that's the frequency that I'm here to be. And, so much of my life, I was constricting myself, trying to stay serious and trying to stay like, I don't know, like earnest, responsible, hardworking, like whatever those frequencies were. That's not the frequency that I'm here to be. And so when you think about the 25, when you think of like loving myself and allowing myself to have that true heart-centered innocence, it has nothing to do with being serious. It has nothing to do with it. Like, my true gift is being like wild. It's not, like a little kid running around naked. That's my true gift, not being serious.
Yeah. And here you brought in the wild woman.
Yeah. Well, that's on the other side.
That's on the other side, right? The wild woman, it's gate 15. And I also heard I heard a lot, of course, but with the 15, I kind of heard in your story that when you come back to your body and it's timing, you can be that loving life and feeling that delight and ecstasy moments. And a few things that I wanted to go in. I also wanted to go in that part that you said that you felt the constriction in your body and you had asthma and all the allergies and all that stuff. When I think of my husband and the vessel of love, and he has the same 46, 25, and then the 15 and the 10. So when I think of his history, he had a heart condition. He had his heart stopped when he was, I believe it was 7 years ago. So now it was about 45 years old. And he had an autoimmune system that did that to him. That we got that later, the doctors told us. And I can relate that to what you were sharing about allergies and also the lungs and the breath comes in. Because I do feel that with this incarnation cross, coming back to the body and just breathe and calm the body down, the relaxation and just taking life in as it comes is so important. Yeah.
I love that. And I think that that's something that human design has really showed me, that the gene keys has really showed me. I have an almost completely defined G center. All of those gates, the 46, 25, 15, and 10 are in the G center. And then I also have the 7 and the 13. So I'm only missing like 1 or 2 of the G center gates. And I do have significant people in my life that have that. So, and I do feel so loved when I'm in their presence, those people where we, completely define the G center. And I would say, especially in the last 12 months, I've been, what I call in active free fall, and, just allowing myself to be not knowing where I'm going next, not knowing who I'm meeting next. And, obviously I have clients, so I'm like showing up on time, but I have like schedule, I have alerts, this active free fall that I'm experiencing in my life. I have noticed that I really have to make sure that I am aware of what this, time construct is about. Otherwise, I just don't show up because I'm busy following my G.
Yeah.
And, so that's something that people with this incarnation cross really need to be aware of, is that there will be times in your life where you have to be in active free fall, and to just embrace it. With that much definition, even just the 4 gates in your G center, that is an active G center. It's, fully fueled by the best plutonium that, this earth has. This isn't fueled by gasoline. This is fueled by cosmic space dust. And, so, and then also when I was thinking about that to myself, I heard the words act of free fall. So it's not active free fall. It is an act of free fall. Like every day I live my life, there will be probably 6 or 7 acts of free fall where I have to just trust that my magnet is taking me to the places that will bring me more ecstasy, bring me more of my innocent self, bring me more of my wild self. And then also where I just get to, because the 10 is all about being, just being.
Loving being alive.
So I don't have to like go and get more certifications. There was a ton of my life where I thought that that's what I needed to do, is to, I have an open ego. So my open ego wanted to like collect certifications, and, always felt bad that I didn't have my master's in such and such. But, for me, because my life has been such a serendipitous journey, I couldn't have figured out at 20 years old what kind of specialty that I wanted to have to get a master's in anyway.
Yeah, that open will center. Yeah, we can talk about that as well, but we're talking about the G. And what I love hearing you say is that this G is the direction, is your magnetic monopole. Your body, and then even your consciousness, your personality side just has to follow, the natural, and the 15 with the timing, and just loving being alive. If that free fall for you feels for me like just surrendering to life and trusting that whenever you get an impulse for whatever, it is the way to go. And when you're conscious enough to just follow that, then you will find that delight and the universal love. Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And, it's very interesting. Like you think, okay, well, somebody has a vessel of love incarnation cross. And so for me, we were talking about this on BBD with you, Corrinda. And, for me, it's garbage in is garbage out. And so the quality of the love that's coming into my vessel of love needs to be that they honor my wildness. They honor my naturalness. They honor that I'm ecstatic. I get jacked about things. And then they honor that, sometimes I'm just sort of a little kid running around the yard naked, and love it. And so if the people in my life, whether it's my primary love partner, my clients, my best friends in the whole world, they all need to meet this gold standard of honoring my incarnation cross. And so that's going to be true for all of the incarnation crosses, but especially for someone with such a heart-centered mission and such a heart-centered purpose, that if I don't have high quality love coming into my life, then I need to be in pursuit of it and be very, like I have the 18 in my eye you. So to be really clear, like, okay, is this good quality love for me? Is this, high quality space dust that's coming into my beautiful body? And if it's not, then I need to make the courageous choices to set myself free, to unconstrict myself, and make sure that the people that are in my life don't constrict me, and that I don't buy into any constriction of relationships. And I would say I have bought into constrictive relationships a lot in my life. And, this active free fall and active free fall that I believe really is the vessel of love needs to be very clear about the quality of love that's coming into their life.
That's interesting, because when I think about quality of love, that can mean different things for a lot of people. So I am curious, what is your definition of quality of love?
Yeah, great question. And so I think it's more about, how does my body feel at the end of the day, because I'm a manifesting generator. So at the end of the day, do I feel really satisfied with my interactions with the people in my life? Do I feel like they've honored my wild woman? They've honored my natural? Have they honored my sensual? Have they honored my innocent? And, not judging, just like, okay, well, out of 10, how satisfied do I feel? And if I feel less than 7 out of 10 satisfied with my love relationships, or, the people in my life relationships, and, look at where I have constricted the relationships, or maybe set role expectations. And okay, well, do I still want to have those role expectations of my primary love partner, or, my best friends, or my clients? Is it something that I've done to constrict the relationship? And if it's not, then, it's worth examining. High quality for me is, at the end of the day, I feel ecstatic about how loved I am. So grateful. Back in the day, we used to do these gratitude journals, and, I really feel like I'm a walking, talking gratitude journal. When I'm grateful, people freaking know. When I love you,
I love that. Well, it's also for you important because you're a 2-4. So the 2 is very particular and very discerning of who they let into their lives. My husband is a 4-6. And what I experienced with him, and then thinking, we discussed this universal love and acceptance, is that when he feels this frustration towards other people because they're not honoring his vision, or mostly it's about work and work related, and with colleagues and the people that you work with, clients and everything, I hear a lot of frustration. And what I'm trying to teach him is, like, if you love yourself and can accept yourself, I feel this universal love is also accepting that the other is different, but you have the choice, like you said, if you want to continue that relationship or not, with this client or with this colleague. In business, sometimes you don't have a choice, because sometimes you're so involved and you can't get out of the relationship. Money's involved and stuff, so that's difficult. But I think it doesn't matter even which profile number you have. I do feel with the vessel of love, it is this choice that you have. And I do feel that there is a learning in accepting the other also, that they're different than you, but then you have the choice to go on with that relationship or not. And now when we're talking about relationships, and just say if you don't want to go into that, but I know from your life, what you've shared with us, is that your relationship is now also coming to an end. And I believe you also had a relationship before that came to an end. And because we're talking about love, and if they can meet or accept or see you for who you are, and I don't know even how to explain it. It's just a feeling that I now have. But maybe I would like to know, and maybe it's a very private question, but what was it for you, or for the relationship, or just for you, that didn't make the relationship work, where your love not being met? Or yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it. For me, in this relationship that's ending right now, there was not an honoring of me as that person who is ecstatic, who is childlike, who is wild, who is naturally talented. And a lot of what I have to do in my business is my frequency, my aura programs other people's auras. And so when they're in my presence, and whether we're working together or whether we live together, I bring that serendipity to the relationship. I bring that innocence to the relationship. I bring that ecstasy to the relationship, and then I also bring the, hey, let's try this to the relationship. And the, oh, well, and that's sort of natural. The 10 really is about being and being myself. And, so in this relationship, as a manifesting generator, I have the charisma channel. And so my charisma channel, people look in on me as a 2-4, and then they get, almost like a taste of that charisma channel, or they can smell that charisma channel. And they're like, oh, I know what she can do for me. And so this is something that I've really become more aware of in the last 12 months, working with the BBD, of how I am perceived as a being. And, because it's business, it was sort of able to come in on the business channel. And then I was like, oh, this is what's happening in my life. People are already choosing what they would like to have from me without even interviewing me about what I would like to deliver. And I would say in both of my primary love relationships, in my marriages, the people had already chose what they wanted from me and didn't consult with me on whether or not I wanted to deliver that. And because I was in constriction, both physically and mentally, I thought, oh, well, this is a beautiful person. This is a nice person. I'm 25.2. And so 25.2 is actually has sort of a pie in the sky kind of like, oh, everything will work out. Everything will be great. Everything's wonderful. And they don't really want to look at what the actual truth of the relationship is, the actual truth of what someone is bringing to the relationship, the actual truth of what that person would like to receive from me. And then when I'm conscious about it, I can actually choose whether or not I want to deliver what that person wants from me. Because I also, my attractor sphere in Gene Keys is 39. And so that's called the liberator. And it's got a ton of sexual energy, a ton. And then with my, I have the 39, which has a ton of sexual energy. I have the 14, which has a ton of sexual energy. And then I have the 34, which has a ton of power. But from the outside, it really looks like, oh, wow, this woman would be so fun in bed. And so I've had that my whole life, like too early. And then I still have it, which is great. But learning how to navigate what other people would like to receive from me and whether that feels loving to me. Does that feel loving to me? Do I feel loved by this interaction? And so in both cases, I did feel loved to the extent that I actually wanted to join with these people and be married to them. And sort of like, what else is possible? Like every day is an act of free fall for me. Every day is a new choice towards becoming more loved, more centered, more high quality love coming into my vessel of love, which then I can broadcast and transmit to the correct people so that they can feel more loved. And, love is so many things for me. Like, I really find that people who are centered and grounded and loved are the kind of people that make huge changes on the planet. I look at people and I'm like, wow, that person is well loved. And, and then I find out that they've got super dedicated parents that, just love the living daylights out of them as little beings. Or I find out that their love partner is just their biggest fan and will do anything to make sure that they move ahead in the world. And I find out that their love partner is like, oh, tell me more about these magic things that you're doing. And, or telling their friends, telling their family, like, oh my God, she's so magical. You wouldn't believe what she made happen. And, that's not happening in this relationship that's ending. It did happen at the beginning, and I'm not sure what changed it. We've all been under, really interesting frequencies lately. And so, it's time to level up. It's time to include me in the equation of what makes me feel loved. And, it's time to really examine what my 34, my charisma channel is inviting me to, or people are like, ooh, I want her to do that. And to be slow, be careful, be almost meticulous about my choices of who comes in and gets access to all this magic.
Yeah, what I'm hearing you say and what I recognize from my husband is, if your love is being received, that is your greatest gift. That is what you're needing for your body to have all these higher frequencies. Is your love being received? And it's not explainable in words or actions. I feel it's a sensation that you get from people. Right? It's
yeah, correct.
Yeah,
correct. When you say that and you ask that question, it's like a Fibonacci sequence. It's like, like a DNA helix. The more love I am receiving, when I'm always emitting it. Like, I'm a loving person. And when it's received, it creates this, this Fibonacci sequence where it's just like, the more love I am receiving, or the people who are like, oh my God, I had so much fun with you. Thank you so much. Or, can I work with you? Or, can I create something with you? Or can I make love to you? Just like whatever it is, making love in all areas of my life, where it's just like ecstasy and what else we can do. And, all of those 4 frequencies, super, super important. And, to have one of them left out, like, so say we pull out the wild woman, we can't be wild, but we can do all of the other things. Then, a vessel of love would be like, well, that's the only thing I want to be. And then if it's like, oh, we must be serious about everything, we can't be ecstatic. Well, then a vessel of love will be like, well, I just only want to be ecstatic. So, it's like, it's very, very important for that love to be received.
Yes. I feel when we were discussing this, I saw like this overflowing cup, and even like the vortex of the earth, that energy that comes out and goes in again. And then it creates this, energy, magnetic, whatever. But that's what I just saw in my inner eye.
Yeah, well, it's like the Ace of Cups. I think that's like that tarot card. That's the overflowing. And I do have a defined root. So for some people, it's like, wow, you're way too much. And for me, previously, I would be like, no, I'm not. I'm okay. And now I'm like, yeah, I am. You better run.
And if you can handle it, then you're able to receive my love. All right.
Well, like that's the clues, right? It's like an act of free fall is like, okay, well, if this person can't receive me, they just simply can't receive me. It's nothing to do with me.
And what I also heard you say was, like Richard said, love ends all suffering. And I was hearing that in your transmission just before. And I just, that's so powerful, because what I'm just hearing from you is that when you're choosing or seeing and sensing who wants to receive your love, who is open to receive your love, and then they can, the giving and receiving comes. Yeah, I feel that you bring in the ecstasy and delight for being alive to everybody. And then there is no more suffering. I can totally see it.
It does. Like, it's just like, when I think of what you were asking, it's like, for me, I am a trained dancer, like a ballroom dancer, and I haven't done it for years. And it's like, why am I not doing that? Yeah. That is a constricted place. I'm actually quite a good singer, and I'm not doing that. And so that's a constricted place. And so when we think, I love lists. So, that's my Virgo. But it's like, like making a list, and like, okay, is this constricted? And is this like unrestricted? It's like, do I have unrestricted access to like dancing my face off? Because for me, that's just so ecstatic. So ecstatic. And I've got the 1648. So it's like, to master something really is such a drive for me. Like, I just think so important for that ecstatic to be able to be out. Like, I listened to Richard talking about the ecstatics, and there are lots of serious people on the planet. There are lots of people with very serious missions, and so I'm not that person. I'm just not. And so it's like trying to put on clothes that don't fit, and trying to be a person and have a personality that doesn't fit. And, I was in banking and real estate and finance for so many years. And I would say that my 46, what I was talking about earlier, saved my bacon. I don't know if they say that worldwide, but it was just like, I managed to skip by with my 46 and my 10. So my naturalness and probably my 2-4 profile. I was not supposed to be in banking. Are you kidding me?
Serious?
Finance. Yeah. I was just playing Tetris with the money.
Yeah, but you can make it fun. You were sharing like that there are lots of people that are serious and that they're bringing a message. But I feel, why does a message or the transmission needs to be so serious?
It doesn't.
It doesn't. When I work with the Gene Keys and human design and the people that I coach, or I don't call it coaching, I call it guiding, I just bring in this. I have the 46 as well, so maybe that's it. I bring in the delight for being alive and having all these senses that we can smell, that we can hear, that we can watch, that we can love, that we can cry, that we can have pain. Even pain can be beautiful, so we can make it very serious, like all this drama. And that's okay too, but just for a moment, because even the drama is fun.
It can be.
It can be fun. Yeah.
It can be. And I would say that's one of the things that I brought, like, prior to all of this, restriction and constriction of personal freedom. I used to travel the world and go and do these workshops. And, the person that came in before me that did the same type of workshop, they would be like, wow, you are nothing like that person. I'd be like, no, I'm not. So, I love to laugh about the different themes that we put in our lives, and even the pain that we put in our lives, and the drama, and the weird intrigue and mysteries that we put in our lives. Like, if we didn't make anything serious, because when you make it serious, you densify it. Like, if you look at Dr. David Hawkins, make it dense, and then you're trying to walk through quicksand and you can't change it. You're like, oh, I can't change my life.
Restrictions.
And so especially for a vessel of love, the more serious that a vessel of love makes their life, the more they will never be able to change it. They will be, wrapped up in chains of constriction. Because I really do think the key is delight. It's ecstasy. It's like laughing. It's not taking anything seriously. It's like, okay, well, I made a shitty relationship choice. And, you know, no matter what I do, it's not being satisfying anymore. You know, it's just not. And if I make that, a better 12 years of counseling with somebody that, you know, probably isn't going to change. Or I can just be like, all right, let's tear this all down and see where we go next. You know, this active free fall. It's like, okay, well, this isn't working for me. So let's move.
Yeah.
I'll move. You move, and not to the same places.
Yeah, you could stay in the drama by blaming the other. It's your fault that, you know, this and that. But if you take away that and you just make this conscious choice, okay, this is not working, you can take that seriousness directly to the delight of giving freedom to the other as well as to yourself. That's how I perceive when I'm divorced once when I was 25. And the reason, or what I said to my ex-partner back then, who was the father of my, or is the father of my daughter, I said to him, I can't give you what you want and what you need. And I am not receiving what I want and what I need. So I'm giving you and myself back the freedom to start a new life. For me, that was honest, and it was like, almost like universal love. I was wanting him to be happy as well, not only for myself, but for him as well. And yeah, he took it very seriously and I could move on. So, you know, yeah, it's a, for when you make that conscious choice, and I know you made that choice, it is probably easier to stay in the delight and to see that this universal love even is asking you to embrace what has happened in the relationship, that it's done, that it's no more than what it was, it never will be, and that it's okay to just move apart. Yeah.
Well, I think it's super important also to recognize the constriction when it shows up, you know, because we have years of belongings, co-belongings, we own a business together, we will have to like pack the house and figure out who gets what and when. We're going to have to hire lawyers, whether we decide to do collaborative law or whatever we decide, which for me feels nice. You know, so it's more about watching the constriction trying to come in, and I have watched it. You know, I'm like, wow, I'm really breathing heavy, or I'm holding my breath here. I need to pull away from whatever it is, you know, whether it's like, you know, packing some china, like, you know, certainly nothing that needs to make me feel like I'm going to keel over. And especially for 25s, you're going to have that constriction coming in and wanting to like squish your lungs, you know, squish your breathing, squish your whatever, squish your heart. And, you know, I didn't even mention the heart. And I've had huge heartache in my life, Corrinda, huge, crazy. Like, we're not even talking about that part of the equation. And so that constriction, I would say, is, you know, there's something here about the Achilles heel that I want to talk about. Where is it? Challenged by life over and over again, confusion when faced with unloving acts, melancholy about being insignificant. All of those things. All of those things. And I would say that the constriction is probably the biggest culprit. You know, it's like, I can only be confused if I had a constricted point of view that's not letting me. I can only be challenged by life over and over again if I am trying to be so serious that I can't be, you know, dancing my face off and having fun. And then melancholy about being insignificant is only that you are insignificant to those people who should be insignificant in your life. You know, like trying to be like, how do you like me so far? To the wrong people. The right people will always come rushing into your life with that much definition Like, I think the 25 by itself has so much stardust in it, right in your G center. So if you got the 25, most likely you might even be defined. I guess you could have a hanging 25. But for the incarnation cross, it's like there's so much magic in it. And so you're only going to be insignificant to people even.
What I find so, well, funny or strange, I don't know which word I want to choose, but we're talking about a defined G center and then having the 25. My husband has it also. And what I perceive with him, and I'm also hearing it a little bit in what you just shared, what you read, and that is that somehow he just wants to help everybody. You probably recognize that, you just want to be loving. And at some point you have given all like the support and this and that, and they're not listening, and they're kind of not receiving your love, the gift that you are giving. And then he says he struggles with it because he knows inside something says, let it go, it's not being received, let it go. But he has this conflict inside of his head that he just wants kind of to push his love, onto But I would think of that when you have an open G, that would make sense. For me, it would make sense. I have an open G. I have the 2 in the 46, but hanging and in an open G center. But I don't know. I'm curious if you recognize that even with this defined G in the 25, then trying to, push your love onto the other. And well, you just already shared it, but I am curious, how did you get out? How do you recognize it, that it's not being received and that you just want to be of significance? Because I feel that's the word in it. That's
well, I think there really is still an immature Jennifer that would love to be significant. And, when you look at all of my, my whole chart, my south node is the 7. And so it's, a born leader, like, listen to me. And so I'm moving away from that in my life, like giving people orders. I'm moving away from giving people orders. And then my north node is actually the 13, which is called the listener. And so it's more about listening to the possibilities, listening through the lens of love. Right. And, I think really as a vessel of love, child, especially, I am going to own that language. I am aware that there is an infinite supply of love on the planet. And so you think about all the water and how self-perpetuating the water is on the planet. So it's like, the evaporation goes up and then it condenses and it becomes clouds and then it rains. Evaporation goes up, so it's self-perpetuating. And for me, I would say that the vessel of love correctly is a self-perpetuating mechanism. So my correct love going out to the correct people will be a self-perpetuating mechanism where, it will condense, it will come up and it will come back into my universe. And it may not be from the exact people, but I will have my soul fractal who are designed to receive leadership. I have leadership all over my freaking chart. So they are designed to receive leadership from me. And so when I try to be a leader to the incorrect people, they can't receive it.
Right.
And so, I've had that enough times in my life, I said earlier about being a warrior and having these experiences. Well, I've done enough training, done enough, leadership training, and then also some like heavy duty, heavy lifting, almost like weight training with love and leadership that, I now know at a soul level who is capable of receiving the magic that I have that special space dust that only I have. And, especially as a vessel of love, it has to do with love.
Yeah.
And so if this person can't go to the ecstatic level of love, can't go to the, the universal level of love, the wild level of love, the completely natural nature being level of love, then, it's actually cruel. It's cruel of me to expect them to. In my trainings, I always say, are you trying to make a Shetland pony win the Kentucky Derby? Shetland ponies are great. They're good. They're wonderful. Yeah. They're very lovable. But if you're trying to make them win the Kentucky Derby, then that's just cruel. It's cruel. It's cruel to me because, I want to win the Kentucky Derby.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's cruel to the little pony. The pony's like, I just want to mow a lawn, little kid ride me around. Yeah. Maybe bite things, because they bite. So it's like, what is the most loving choice for me?
Right.
Needs to be the number one thing, because the more love I can receive, the more love I transmit. And then it becomes Fibonacci. It becomes a DNA helix that, grows my life and grows the life of the people that I'm supposed to be leading, to be an inspiration to, all of that.
Yeah. Wow. And I love that you brought in like this love for self, because I do feel that the vessel of love first needs to learn to love and accept itself. And also the 46 is also loving the body. And I feel, but that's maybe because of my design and also observing others, that a lot of human beings on earth do not love their body because it doesn't look a particular way, because there's an expectation of how especially women should look, but also men, how men should look, that they should have big muscles and, a flat tummy and have big arms. And I know from older pictures that you had big fat lies, and you were a different size than you are now. Do you feel that it has to do with your growth, that you are now, I don't even think that it's about the weight, but because you're way much happier with yourself and more loving with yourself, that it's kind of naturally you became who you are today?
Yeah, what a great question. I would say that it has a lot to do with every part of the incarnation cross. And then also quite substantially in my chart, my Mars connects the 1949 channel. And so 49 is the revolutionary and the 19 is the Utarian. And so the 19, if you read Richard Rudd's definition, it talks about someone who is so sensitive to everything that they're very affected. I'm going to use that word affective also. They're very affected by their environment. And so one of the things that was suggested in that part of the book was that I would be way more suited to have energy work and not to have like cognitive behavioral therapy. And for me, I've always, I've had cognitive behavioral therapy for, different things in my life. But the consciousness in the core of my body needed an upgrade, and I knew it. So I devoted all like the last calendar year. So, basically March 6th to March 6th, I worked with a very, very talented healer, and had a ton of acupuncture and Bowen and, and then his own modalities that he does. He's also a naturopathic doctor and traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, like tons of different modalities. So it was exactly what I needed to be able to make huge changes. There was tons of constriction in my body at the unconscious level. My body was frozen, so there's like fight, flight, or freeze. Yeah. Ton of my body was frozen. And so I needed to get to the core of, all of those unconscious traumas out of my body. And then the other thing my body showed me, and I've always been adept at receiving messages of what my body wanted. But have I been able to stay on the bandwagon of what my body wanted? And so this constant support from my natural dog was huge for me, and the constant support from the energetics of the acupuncture. And he's not just an acupuncturist, like he's a healer. He's a 4/6 as well, and I really feel like that 4/6 energy is so healing, so healing. And so I've lost a ton of weight. My body wanted to, I've always done well with fasting. So my body wanted to go down to 1 meal a day. And then my body also wanted to move over into like high fat, no sugar. So it was just a matter of like really being in dialogue with my body. But when I first learned, the vessel of love, this one is about the love of the body, I was using that in business, like talking to business owners about how to create a business where you're honoring your body, you're taking care of your body, you're taking care of your intuition, you're making sure to not get burnout. But for me, it was sort of like, a doctor that smoked. It's like I was like facilitating all of this stuff, but in my own body, I was running myself into the ground. I was burning myself out. And I think a lot of that had to do with not enough love coming into my body. And so I was very loved by this experience of, having a weekly date where I was having my acupuncture, where I was like paying attention to my body. I was taking care of my body. And so that amount of quality experience coming in really did fill my vessel up.
Yeah. I'm hearing that you gave yourself that love and that time and space to take care of the body that is living the life. That you finally, somehow felt the call that it was time to give yourself that love and to find somebody. Yeah, wow. Yeah, my daughter has 1949 as well. So that sensitivity, also the food that you take in, but also the environment. And then you having it in your vessel of love makes it even more important in your life. And you're such a role model now with sharing this in this conversation about the vessel of love and all the parts that you brought in. I'm just so grateful that you really, with the 13 months, it's almost 13 months now with the BBD, the Business by Design. And you are the role model of when you really go and work with this knowledge and this wisdom, and you apply it and you dive deeper and you are able to love yourself enough to do something with it, what can happen? Because I'm just hearing you are the vessel of love right now. And I think if I ask you the question, how was that 2 years ago, you're going to give me a real different answer, or not?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't loving to myself. I wasn't making a commitment to my development as a person, as a being, as, I would spend money on my business to learn new business techniques, but I wouldn't, devote the time and attention and love for my own physical form. And, as the vessel of love, I think any of the especially the 46, 25, 15, 10, really, like the body will be the number one thing that brings in the correct relationships, brings in the correct opportunities, brings in the correct environments and invitations. And so for me to spend that year just devoted to my body, and I really had to be like a piranha about it. A total piranha, because my partner was like, why are we spending all this money? And, what are you doing? And I'm like, this is nothing. I could be paying $200 a session to go talk to somebody and cry every week, or I could be making this like epic change in my physicality like open your eyes, so that was something that happened too. But I really feel, I feel honored to be a role model for this incarnation cross. I really feel like, the ability to love as much as I can, and, to have that sort of refreshing, innocent, playful, wild love in my heart. It just seems to be that it's such a resource. And so if I'm not, making full use of that resource, it's like having a Ferrari under a dust cover, in a garage, and it never gets to go and climb a mountain highway. Like, what would be the point of that?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I wanted to ask you like this last question of what is your vessel of love? What is the one thing that your vessel of love wants to just put out there as a last kind of magical spark that it wants to bring?
Well, you know what I want to say? No matter what your incarnation cross is, if you happen to have watched all of this, you are truly worthy of high quality love. And you know how I know this is because it's there. Love is like rain. It's like water. It's like the salty sea. It's just waiting for somebody to notice it, waiting for somebody to consume it, swim in it, drink it, breathe it in. It's as plentiful as anything on the planet. And so when you think about yourself, like, what if you are that Ferrari? We're not going to put low quality gas in a Ferrari. Like, it even says that you like open up, it says, premium fuel only. So please treat yourself like that Ferrari. Take yourself out for a hot drive on a mountain highway, and, only premium fuel. And if it feels like it's not premium fuel, then it's time to ask some questions. It just is. And to be brutally honest with yourself about how much love that you're here to receive, because this is what we came here for. Love is the frequency that we came here for.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. I don't have anything to add. I'm just very grateful for this beautiful, in-depth conversation. And thank you so much.
My pleasure. I'll be around.